everyone, it's Dan from Everyone's Adventure, and in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Mission Impossible, starting with the actual structure itself. So the size of it, well, it's 2 meters wide excluding the guide ropes, it's 6 meters long, and it's 2.2 meters in its tallest point, so in the arc of the crossbeams. The space that you need, well, the ground needs to be relatively flat to avoid any unnecessary strain on the uprights or the baseboards. Although you cannot move or change the apparatus itself, there are 3 different courses which can be strung up in the middle. There is a red hard route, a black medium route, and a white accessible route, and I'll show you in the next section of the video how to set them up. Setting up your route, well, you come to the start of our apparatus. We know this is the start because when we look at the uprights we have the numbers starting with 1, so we know that's our first point of connection. As I mentioned before, there's a red, a black and a white route, and there are numbers on each upright. There'll be R1, meaning that's red route and it's the first one I go to. We start by clipping the carabiner to the first point, and then we simply thread the rope or the line through the next point. So I'm now going to be looking for R2 as my next connection. Behind me you'll be able to see our red route set up on Mission Impossible. This is our hardest route and it is a brilliant challenge for your team. If the ground was softer where we were setting this up, we'd have our guidelines offering extra support for the apparatus, but because we're on a hard surface we've kept them tucked away. And here you can see our black route, or our easier route, all set up and ready for the participants. There's a few level changes throughout this course, but there are big gaps for people who are slightly less stable on their feet or their balance isn't quite as good to be able to make their way through this course. And here you can see our white route set up and ready for the participants. This has been designed to be inclusive. As you can see, the main lines are at the top part of our course, allowing enough room for a wheelchair to move underneath. But there are also some other laser wires drooping down. Now this creates a slalom for the person in the wheelchair to make their way through the course. Included in the support document is a Mission Impossible objective and rules, and on here are the objectives, rules, adaptations and some safety points to cover with your group. The objective is for your team to start at one end of the course and make their way through, trying to touch the laser wires as least amount of times as possible. So the rules of the task would be for participants to stay in between the 2 baseboards, to avoid touching anything wooden, and to avoid touching the laser wires. Some suggestions would include if a participant or the team touches the baseboards or the wooden uprights, the entire team make their way back to the start immediately. You may want to give your team some lives, and they lose their lives when they touch a laser wire. We recommend 5 to 10 lives, and every time they touch a laser wire they lose 1. Once they run out of lives, the entire team makes their way back to the start of the activity. Some safety points for Mission Impossible then. Well, firstly, we recommend that someone is supervising this activity at all times, and that supervising person has either read the document or watched this video prior to the activity as well. We also recommend there is a first aider present with a first aid kit. One main safety point we would recommend you giving to participants is being mindful of their movements through the course. It's about completing the course with the least amount of touches to the laser wires and not the fastest time. We strongly suggest you discourage any timed routes or any races through this course. Before each group takes part in the Mission Impossible activity, the supervising person needs to complete some safety checks. Included in the supportive document is what you're checking and how to check it. but I'm also going to run you through how to do that in this video.
Starting with the crossbeams. They are bright green and positioned at the start and end of the course. What are we checking for? There are no large cracks or splinters in the woodwork. It is attached on both ends by a minimum of one bolt, and the bolts are all hand tight. The uprights. They are the lengths of wood standing vertically with multiple eyelets. What are we checking for? There are no large cracks or splinters in the woodwork, that they are positioned in a semicircle support foot. Check that it is attached to the foot with two bolts and the bolts are hand tight. Check the eyelets are securely fastened in the wood. Check the guidelines are pegged out if appropriate. The upright feet. They are the semicircled pieces of wood supporting the uprights and are attached to the baseboard. Check for the following: that there are no large splits or cracks in the woodwork, and they are fastened to the baseboard. Baseboards. They are the two long lengths of wood on the floor. What are we checking for? Check that there are no large cracks or splinters in the woodwork, and also they have two small covers in the middle which are screwed down to secure them.
The objective of Mission Impossible is for participants to avoid touching the parts of the activity. However, if you feel it's appropriate, we will provide a cleaning solution. You can only use the solution that we provide, and there will be an accompanying cost sheet to go along with it. Simply spray the areas that you believe has become a touch point and leave between 5 to 15 minutes, preferably in direct sunlight.